So you don't tell anybody.
Mm.
You basically you escape, you run away. And I didn't tell a single person that I was leaving, verbally, in persons. I waited until so that was around noon. So I knew I made the decision to leave and I was going to leave that night. I didn't tell anybody that night when I went upstairs, pretending like I was getting ready for bed.
Mhm.
They were going to go to bed and then I was going to leave. I wrote a note for them and I just said, this is my decision and this is what I have to do.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for another episode of MomTalks with Christa. We've got Lizzie Ens here today, who I found on social media not that long ago, sharing her story about growing up in the Amish community and what made her decide to leave when she was 19 years old. She shares different stories about growing up there, what it was like, and then ultimately her process for getting out. And now she's a mom and a fitness coach, and she shares all about how different diet trends have kind of harmed her over the years and made her feel bad about herself, and how she now has a program called Undiet Yourself. So this was just an amazing conversation. I really love talking to Lizzie, and I hope you guys will too. So check it out. And of course, at the very end, stick around for our Mom Tales of the Week, where we read off your responses on our Instagram page and Facebook group. And we got a good one for you this week, so don't miss it. So without further ado, here's my interview with Lizzie Ens. Before we kind of get started, can you just tell us who you are and kind of go from there?
My name is Lizzie Ens and I am the owner and creator of the online program Undiet Yourself, where I help women, become healthier versions of themselves, heal their bodies. I'm also a mom and a wife, and I'm former Amish as well.
Awesome. And I know you talk a lot about growing up in the Amish community and making a decision to eventually leave that community. And so I'm sure a lot of people listening have a lot of questions. I know you cover a lot of this on your page as well, but what was it like growing up in the Amish community?
That's such a kind of like a broad question too, because everybody's experience can be so different and there's different orders, there's different orders of Amish. And so when I'm talking about my experience, I'm not talking about everybody else in the different orders. Where I'm from, we were as strict as they could get when you look at the Amish lifestyle. So I always say it's like you're at the bottom of the totem pole of everything. So it's like in the real world, there's non-denominational First Assembly when you're looking at churches. Well, there's different levels of churches within the Amish community as well. And where I'm from, they're called Sports and Trooper Amish, and it's like living I don't know, I call it 1600s. You're way, way, way back where you don't have any electricity, you don't have any indoor plumbing. So your bathrooms are outside and there's no flushing, there's nothing like that. So, you have your lighting in the house is kerosene lamps and you have wood burning stoves. There's horses. They use horses for, their farming and horse and buggy. So there's no tractors or anything like that where I'm from. So it's really hard work, and nothing about it has anything to do with the modern world. They don't, you know, have anything to do with the government. They don't even have social security numbers.
Oh, wow.
And so it goes way, way, way back. They don't associate with the government at all.
Mm,
So yeah.
wow. And so when you were living there, and how old were you when you left the community?
I was 19.
19. And when you were living there, were you very aware of what went on outside the community, or was it kind of kept from you a little bit, or how did you kind of start learning about other communities around you?
Where some people think of the Amish community, they're like, oh, they live on compounds and you don't go outside the wall, you live inside this wall. But it's not like that. So I grew up on a farm, and our closest Amish neighbors were 3 miles away. So everybody else around us was not Amish. And in the Amish world, they call anybody that's not Amish, they call them English. Like that's their
Mhm.
term. I don't do that anymore, but because I think it's weird, but that's a term that they use to describe anybody that's not Amish. And so you get exposed a little bit and you're aware that obviously aware that there's this whole world outside of the Amish community, but you're still extremely sheltered. So there's so many things that you don't know. And obviously a million things I didn't know until after I left and I had to learn it. So you do know some, and some people probably like get exposed a little bit more than others depending on their surroundings and the environment that they're in or how sheltered their parents have them. Like it just kind of depends, because it can kind of vary in between families too. So I was always curious, which is probably why I left, because out of curiosity, like I wanted to leave as well because I knew there was more and I knew that I wanted more. So out of curiosity, I, would look for things that like I didn't know or maybe didn't understand, but I was curious about it. So I would watch like all our neighbors that were not Amish and be like, oh, what are they doing? What do they have that I don't have? So I paid attention to that a little bit more. And that's kind of where like all the curiosity started to happen and seeking of, do I want to stay here?
Wow. And what was that process like for you when you decided like, okay, like this isn't for me anymore. I want to see what else is out there. Like, was it just like, over a few months, or was it like a year you're kind of deciding? And then when you made that decision, what was that like for you?
Yeah, so definitely not only a few months. Many contemplate it for years before they leave. I think that I started thinking about it when I was 13 or 15, around that area. I think I remember a while back I was thinking about it. It was like around 13 where I was like curious about it. And also I had cousins that left. And so
Mhm.
that strikes curiosity. It's like, oh, what are they doing? They left. And so that's where curiosity started to come in. And then when I was 15, my dad died. And so when that happened, it sets on a whole new set of emotions that you're like, well, I can't leave my family now. Like we have to stick together. But then fast forward 2 years later, I have a twin sister, and her and I actually left, like ran away for 2 days. And like we left together and we were the first in the family to do it. And so we left for 2 days and 2 nights. And then we were staying at a cousin's house, and a brother of ours that was still at home, he found out where we were staying, and he ended up like calling our cousin's house. And this is when landlines were still in. So she picked up the landline in the kitchen and I picked it up in the living room, but I didn't say anything. She did. And so I just listened to their whole conversation. And basically, he was like, Mom's not doing well. Like, this is, this like, it's like someone died when you leave. Like, they're just like, they're mourning. Like, it's so bad.
Oh my God.
And so my twin was like, well, I can't do this to my family. Like, you guys have to come pick us up. And I was so devastated. I was like, I knew it wasn't the life for me, and I was like, I can't go back. Like this isn't what I want. And but because she was going back, I was like, well, I have to go back. So I go back, and we stayed there for, it was probably 2 years later than when I left. But within those couple years of being home, I had told her the day after that we came back, I had told her that I can't stay here, that I will leave again.
Mhm.
And she was like, yeah, I will too. Like I don't want to be here. But a lot of things happened within those 2 to 3 years that I was still there. We started dating,
Mhm.
and we both got boyfriends, and she was in a really serious relationship. And then we ended up becoming members of the church, which means you get baptized.
Mhm.
And when you get baptized within the church, now you're a member with the church, and now they have more control over you. So they're going to, be looking at more closely at how you're dressing and what you're doing, and if you're following the rules. And if you're not following the rules, you're going to get in trouble. So you get watched more closely.
Mhm.
And I was a member for 6 months, before I left. And it was within those 6 months that things just kind of like started evolving. And I was just like, this isn't okay. Like I started seeing like how the church was treating people, and how I was like, I don't agree that a God would treat people this way. And I don't agree with their philosophy of things. Like, wait, I get in trouble for putting a pin in wrong in my dress. Like, come on, like there's got to be more to life than this. So I was just like, you know what? Like, if I'm gonna get in trouble, and like, because their thing is fear. Like they instill fear in you. And so that fear is, they believe in God, but it's a lot of fear. So if you don't follow the rules, and you don't follow what you're supposed to within that community and the church's rules, then you're a bad person and you're going to go to hell because you're not following their orders. So that's their way of like kind of controlling you, and there's all this fear around it. So basically I was like, well, if I'm going to go to hell for putting my dress on the wrong way, or dressing in a way that I'm not supposed to, then I might as well just go to hell driving a car. Like I may as well just go all the way. So, and looking back now, I'm like, that's terrible, but but it was my way of coping, and just being like, I need it. Like, if this is really all that there is to life, then I'm just gonna leave and see what else is out there. So I was dating someone from New York, and I lived in Ohio. And when you date long distance in the Amish culture, your form of, like where I'm from, your form of communication is like writing letters. So you write letters to each other, and maybe you see each other like once or twice a year, but that's about it. So we have been in a relationship for a while, and I think out of the whole time that we were dating when we were still Amish, I think maybe we had like 3 or 4 dates total. Everything else was just like writing letters back and forth. So the way that it kind of transpired, where I finally ended up leaving, is I was actually working at my oldest sister's house. I was there helping her because she just had a baby, and she had like 5 or 6 kids, I think. And so they usually like get help, like hire a maid or something like that, because the girls work as maids a lot when they're in their teens. So I'm at my oldest sister's house, and it was my turn to deliver a letter to my boyfriend. And I go to the mailbox to deliver the letter, and there's a note there from him saying that he and his sister and her boyfriend drove down from New York the day before, and they left the Amish. And we never had this conversation before this. Like, I had no idea they were going to do that. So that was like, I see the note, and he was like, you can, if you want to leave, we'll come by tonight, we'll pick you up, and this is your way out. Or if you don't want to do that, like, I'll come by later on sometime, and we'll talk about this. And it took me like 2 seconds to be like, I'm leaving. Like, this is my way out. This is my chance. And so I did.
That's amazing. It's like you guys were on the same like wavelength of like what you wanted to do. And it was like your ultimate sign of like, this is my time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's actually really crazy to me when I think about it now, back to like all the things that were kind of like set in place and that were happening in order for me to like take that step to leave.
Wow. And is he now your husband?
No.
Okay.
My husband now, he was never Amish. So we
Okay.
met some years after that.
Yeah. It still is like, yeah, like perfect to how like you needed that to happen in order to, make that quick, choice just to get out. How do you like meet someone when you're in the Amish community, meet someone that lives in another state?
So you typically have a first date or second date actually like in person. You don't just start dating, writing letters. So brother of mine actually got married in New York. And so we went to New York to go to his wedding. And that's where I met this guy, and we went on a
Oh.
date, and their dating is crazy. Like, it's crazy when you think about it. I've talked about it a little bit, I think, on Instagram. One time I did an episode on their dating. It took me a lot of courage to get to a place where I felt like I was okay talking about it. And then this other girl that's from a different order of Amish, she was like, you just have to laugh about it. Like, don't, like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's just, you just laugh. And it's not, because I think part of me was like, oh, like, I'm ashamed. Like, that's so weird.
Hmm.
And then she was like, no, like, just laugh about it. Like, it's fine.
What's like different about like their dating that we like wouldn't have like here, I guess?
They're not supposed to have premarital sex. Like, that's a big deal, but they don't get taught anything about sex. Like, there's no sex ed teaching. Like, I remember when my twin and I we're getting ready to like start dating, which is around 16 and a half. That's like kind of the marker. The only thing my mom told us was like, keep your dress down. Like, that was it. There was no education behind it. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Well, what do you mean keep your dress on? And so it was this like kind of like, okay, I think because we also grew up on a farm, so there's animals and like you learn things, but you don't fully understand it, right? So the way that they do dating is they'll do, let's say it's church Sunday, and they have church every 2 weeks, and the church is during the day, and it'll go from like 9 in the morning until 3 or so in the afternoon by the time everything's over, sometimes later. And then the people that are dating in that dating age, and they are dating, they'll like go spend time at someone's house in the afternoon and just kind of hang out as like young folks. And then in the evening, they'll actually go back to the house where the church was, and they have what's called singing. And so they all have like their hymn books, and they all sit around a table or whatever, and they sing for like a couple hours. And then after that, you may go on a date. You may or you may not. It's kind of run by the guys. So the guys will be like, okay, they'll get into a group, and 2 or 3 guys may ask another guy like, hey, do you want to go on a date with Lizzie? And if the guy's like, yes, I do, then they'll come and ask me. And then I get to say yes or no, whether or not I want to go on a date with that guy. The actual guy that wants to go on a date with you doesn't come ask you. Like, the others do. And then if I say no, they have to go back and tell him, no, she doesn't want to go on a date with you. If I say no, they'll probably beg me and be like, come on, you should do it. Like, they'll like literally beg you. And you can just keep saying no. Or if you say yes, then they'll go back and tell a guy like, yep, she'll go on a date with you. And then he'll take you home in the horse and buggy, and then he'll stay there until like 5 the next morning. And their dating is like in the middle of the night. You're not allowed to be seen in public together because they don't do any public display of affection. So you're not allowed to date during the day. So their dating is at night, and they hang out, they sleep in the same bed, and there's not supposed to be any sex, but I can't tell you how many times that happened. So I'm not talking about myself, but like I know it happened with like others. Because I didn't actually go on a lot of dates when I was there. There was not very many good choices.
You're like, I know I'm going somewhere else.
So that's one way. And then another way that they do it is they'll every other Saturday night, when there's no church the next day, you may have like random guys show up at your house, come to your room and wake you and be like, do you want to go on a date with this guy tonight?
Oh, it's a little startling.
I know, right? Like, it's like crazy when you think about that. So Then so let's say you are in a serious relationship with someone, then you can only see each other every 2 weeks. That's it. Like if you get caught seeing each other more often than that, then you get in trouble.
Oh, wow. So it's very like controlled of how much you can do, how often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. And so when you made that like quick choice to leave, did you did you tell like your family? I know like you said you have a twin. So do you talk to her? Did she want to come with you? What was that kind of like with your family?
So you don't tell anybody.
Mm,
You basically like you escape, like you run away. And I didn't tell a single person that I was leaving, like verbally, like in persons. I waited until so that was around noon. So I knew I made the decision to leave and I was going to leave that night. I didn't tell anybody that night when I went upstairs, like pretending like I was getting ready for bed.
mhm.
They were going to go to bed and then I was going to leave. I wrote a note for them and I just said like, this is my decision and this is what I have to do. And this is where I'm going. Well, I didn't tell them where I'm going. I just said that I was leaving. And I that was it. Like I didn't like tell anybody because if you do tell people, they are going to try their very, very best to keep you there. And usually it's out of guilt and fear. And that usually prevents people from leaving. And I don't really know anybody. Maybe they do now. I don't know. This was a long time ago. But back when I was still there, and if you wanted to leave, like you literally had to run away and leave in those terms and not tell anybody. And even at that, I had a younger sister that left a year and a half after I left, and
Oh,
she
wow.
was 17. And so she's considered a juvie, and
Mm.
she left with one of her best friends. And her best friend's dad ended up calling the police because he was like, "You're not leaving. You're still my child. You're not 18 yet. You're going to come home and I'm going to drag your ass home." Well, they went into hiding because they were like, "We're not going back." So I like helped them go somewhere where they were in hiding so that they don't have to go home if they don't want to.
Oh, wow. So she's now out because that years ago or
Oh yeah, that was like maybe 15 years ago, 14,
Mm,
15. I can't remember the exact
yeah.
year that was, but yeah. But it doesn't work. Like if someone does that and they actually do take their kids home, like it doesn't work. Well, the kids always leave later. So
Mhm.
they never get to stay there.
Yeah, it probably causes like more of a rebellion to kind of be like, well,
Hmm.
I'm really gonna, go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, well, it's good that you have, contact with your sister, but have you been able to talk to any of your other family or send letters or anything or?
So I see my mom. Like I've seen my mom every year since I left. When I lived in Ohio, I would go see her several times a year. Initially, it probably took me, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 months or how long it was before I went home to see her after leaving. And those years were hard. The first couple years were hard, like really hard, because she wanted to see us, but she was not happy with us. Or yeah, because I have three other siblings that left. And in those early years was when two of them left. So like I got blamed because I'm like the one that like left, and then they're like, well, they want to leave too. So that was sort of like I I I set a bad example for
Mhm.
them. And so I think it took my mom about 2 years or so before she like started to come around and realize like, okay, like we're not bad people. Like we're not out there like doing terrible things. Like that was her biggest fear, is that we like end up in jail. And she like was like, I don't want to look bad. And I think she had this fear because we had cousins that left and they ended up like getting into drugs and they end up in prison, and that was like her biggest fear.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
she's good now and I go back to see her once a year because
Awesome.
I don't live in Ohio anymore. So but my sister that lives that also left, like she has a family back in Ohio and she goes to sees her like every few months. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Yeah, that's good that you are able to still keep that conversation with
Yeah.
her and like, have open conversation about, your life now and all that. So is there anything, so now that you're a mom yourself, like, is there anything that you like bring from the Amish community or like your upbringing to them, or do they have questions about like your childhood, and how do you kind of like merge the two in like your own new way?
My son's only 3, so he's not old enough to understand or like have the concept of that, and he's not around it enough. So I've taken him home to see, like when I go see my mom a couple times, and he doesn't, it's so foreign to him because we're not around it, and my husband doesn't speak the Pennsylvania Dutch language, so it's not like I'm going to teach my son that language because like he wouldn't understand. So I'm not teaching him that, and I don't speak it very often anymore. And so I don't know, like I don't know where it's going to go as he gets older. Like he probably will have questions, and I'm super willing to teach him whatever and educate him on it. I'm not closed off about it at all. So I don't, we'll just kind of see where it goes. I don't know where it's going to go with him. So well, that's to be determined.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I was just curious about it. It would be like if there's anything too, like you're like, oh, like I'm like these parts of myself, like I'm really glad for the, Amish community. So I'm gonna like bring it to my family but yeah, no, it's just interesting.
I think that the biggest thing that I really like teaching my son is family atmosphere. Like that's really, really big to me. Like I want him to have that like family community connection and all of that. We're also really hard workers, but it's almost to a fault that they do. It's like you don't get to do anything fun until you've done all your hard work. And so the thing that I want to teach him is like you work hard, yes, but like you're also allowed to have fun.
I love that.
So yeah.
Good balance. And of course, now you are a fitness coach. So what kind of made you take that transition into like becoming a fitness coach, and like what was that kind of like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I come from a background of yo-yo dieting and body shaming and all the fun things, and it started in my teens when I was still at home. I had a very bad relationship with my body. I got bullied for my weight because I wasn't obese, but I was always bigger than my twin from the time we were born. And so just being bigger than my twin was like magnet number one to get bullied. And so I did get bullied for that, up to my teens. And when I went into like early teen and then later on as well, I think more 16, 17, I developed a really poor relationship with food and my body. And I was determined to lose a bunch of weight so that I can be smaller than my twin, and I did, but I really jeopardized my health and had a lot of health issues even when I was still at home. And that body dysmorphia was insane. Like I was so like engulfed in it. And so after I left, I was kind of free from it because it's like, oh, like I get to do whatever I want. And I got exposed to fast food. So I started eating a lot of fast food because I didn't have to cook anymore. And so all of a sudden, 15, 20 pounds later, I'm like, well, this doesn't work either. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I had never been exposed to like microwaves. So I started using microwave, like lean cuisines. And so I was doing that and just not went back into like this body shaming because all of a sudden like I was heavier again, and I started like getting comments and bullied again from my brothers that were still at home. And I was like, what is going on? When all of that happened, I went on a search for dieting, and I did, quick fix fat diets, like a lemonade diet where you don't like eat all week. And it was this perpetual thing that just kept going. And I lost weight, but I was never happy. And then I started marathon running, and I got into marathon running, and that was more of a like challenge to myself, where I was like, I want to see if I can do this. And it was a really good challenge for me because my intro into exercise, but I still was never happy with my body. Like I was just so like obsessed with it. Like, oh, there's a little bit something off here, and there's a little bit something off here, and like just never happy. So anyway, I went and got my GED because we only get 8th grade education growing up. And so I went and got my GED, and when I was studying for that, I realized that I had passion for science, like the human body, and learning about nutrition and how all of that works. And that was just like a little snippet of it. Like it didn't even have, it's not like I was studying nutrition or anything like that. It was just a snippet of it. After that, it took me a few years. I finally went and got certified as personal trainer. I was really passionate about that. And then after I started training, like within my first year of personal training, I realized that there's more to taking care of your health and your body than like going to the gym and exercising. And I was still body shaming so much because I was like, okay, if I eat pizza or a cookie, I got to go work out because I got to get rid of these calories that I just ate. So it was like this hamster wheel that I was on, where it was like, nothing's ever good enough about how my body looks or how my body feels. And so that led me into going to school to become a certified health coach. And I did that. And that's sort of like where my journey began to healing my body, and not just like my body, but also my mind, like learning how to actually like care for your health from the inside out, and not like feeling like you have to punish your body because you ate a cookie. Like that was a big thing for me. But what I want to share here is the biggest thing that I learned going through all of that is it's caused a lot of health issues for me. And so, in the last 3 years, I've been on this journey to actually like heal my body. And I'm still on the journey to continue healing it, because I found I got hypothyroidism, I got Hashimoto, I had crazy candida levels, like all of that. And I realized that all the things that I was doing in those prior years was everything I was trying to do was trying to like get my body to be smaller. And in the process, I was damaging my body and my hormones and my health. And not only that, like trauma, like if you have trauma that happens, like that can really mess with your hormones and your gut. And so currently I'm back in school again, and I'm studying for functional nutrition. So by the time I'm done with that, I'll be board certified as a functional nutrition coach as well.
Oh, wow. Awesome. I love hearing about the journey and like how you kind of went through this self-discovery of like, your own like eating habits versus like how you felt about yourself and all that. So that's amazing to hear. And I know now you're working on, you have your own program you call Undiet Yourself. So what's kind of the philosophy behind Undiet Yourself?
Undiet Yourself came to me when I realized that we need to deconstruct everything that we were taught before, that we need to be on a diet in order to be healthy and lose weight. And it's slowly killing us by doing that. And so Undiet Yourself is to create diet freedom and to heal your body from within. And initially, I was mostly focusing on just like getting people to, learn how to eat healthier in a balanced approach and not be on a diet. and get rid of the diet mentality and work through the mindset hurdles of that, because that comes with it too. And then obviously everything comes with a workout program too, because I'm a trainer. And so that's part of it. But now I'm heavily focusing on gut health and thyroid and hormones, because that's such a big issue. And, you know, a lot of women struggle with that so badly. And until we fix that, it doesn't matter how perfect we are with our calories and our macros, until we fix like whatever else is going on within the body. Because basically what will happen is if you're in a calorie deficit and your macros are the way that they should be, and you could be perfect and nothing happens. So like your body's just like, nah, I don't want to do anything. And that's because your hormones and your thyroid and your gut are way jacked up, basically. And so your body's basically saying like, I won't because I can't. And so now like a lot of women that come to me is like, all right, like my doctor told me that my thyroid levels are fine or normal, but I feel like shit and I can't lose weight and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like you made a good point about like, you know, when we're younger, we're taught like all these diets, like do low fat and count your calories and stuff, but there's so much bigger to that. And that can be more detrimental. I keep seeing like all these like reels and TikToks, you know, kind of poking fun at how we were taught, like only have 1,200 calories, only have, you know, and it's like everyone's body and makeup is so different where we require different things, but also you make a good point about your hormones, your gut, like there's so many other things to look at than just, you know, what's in front of you.
Yeah, I did this. This came to me the other day as I was thinking about something, and I was like, you know, if you think about it, there's certain diets that are being promoted that are just toxic. Like it's crazy. And it's like the same diet for every single person that comes into their program. And I was like, you know, if you tell someone that they should do a specific diet because it worked for you, it's kind of like saying you should marry my spouse because it worked for you, for me. Like it doesn't work that way. Like we're all so different. Our genetics are different, you know, and if you have, you know, you could have genetic mutations. And so like your body doesn't process things the way that someone that doesn't have the mutations. It's crazy. And so we're all so individual. That's what makes the world beautiful too, is like we are bio individuals. We're not lab rats. Like we can't all do the same thing. We don't all have the same personality. And so it's almost ludicrous to be like, oh yeah, like this is, everybody should be doing this.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And so where can moms and women that are listening, you know, find your program or contact you and see more about, you know, everything you offer?
My website is www.undietyourself.live. So you can get a lot of information there. And then you can find me on Instagram at Lizzie Ens. Share a lot of really good stuff over there. And that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And I always like to end these with fun thinking questions, just get a little take from each mom on the show. So if you could have a billboard made today where you could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say?
I would like to say that it's okay to ask for help. And the reason for that is because I'm one of those moms that has a hard time asking for help. And we're not supposed to do this on our own. We even have trouble asking our spouse for help sometimes. Like it's almost like we're like, no, like we're supposed to be the ones that are doing that's like doing all this stuff, cooking, cleaning, laundry, like whatever, and taking care of our kids. And then all of a sudden we're so burned out that we're just like, I need to get out or I'm gonna like lose my crap. And it's not, you're not weak if you ask for help. Like it's okay. And if you ask for help and you get help and you don't feel so overloaded and you all of a sudden are like your cup's filled up again, you're a better mom. You just
Mhm.
are. You're a better mom, you're a better wife, and you also have more energy, and you also like feel like you can take care of yourself better because
Mhm.
you took that time to be vulnerable. Like it's okay to be vulnerable and be like, listen, like I can't do all this. I need some help.
Mhm. Yeah, that was an awesome explanation too, because I think like it never hurts to have that reminder of like asking for help. Because I think a lot of times as women, we're like, we want to do everything ourselves, or we don't want to, like you said, we don't want to look weak and like ask for help. But there's so many people out there that are willing to help if they just know about it, or they're just want,
Yeah.
asked.
Even just a listening ear. Like
Mhm.
sometimes all you want is someone to like listen to you and then that's it. Like I had pretty crazy postpartum depression about 2.5 years postpartum because I breastfed for 2.5 years. So when I got off breastfeeding, I was not prepared and my hormones were like they
Mhm.
went crazy and I was like, I'm having an out of body experience.
Mhm.
And it was not me, and I did this video on just my Instagram story, and this girl that knows me, she was like, she saw the video and she texted me after she saw the video and she's like, I saw that your eyes were welling up, like kind of tearing up, are you okay? I didn't say anything about what was going on, and
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not okay. And it was at that moment that I realized that so many times we mask it up and we just say, no, we're fine, everything's good. And we don't want to talk about it because we feel like if you're going through postpartum depression or depression in general, you literally feel like you're the only person that's going through it.
Mhm.
You live on it, you're alone in an island. Nobody knows what you're going through. You don't want to talk about it, but you also don't know what's wrong with you.
Mhm.
And so just by saying, I'm not okay, opens the door for someone to be like, how can I help you? What do you need? And
Mhm.
so she calls me and she's like, what do you need? And I was like, I don't know what I need. I literally don't know what I need. And so we just sat and we talked. And 30 minutes later, I cried and we got off the phone and I felt a million times better. And that was just by us having a conversation.
Mhm.
So have conversations.
Yeah, I love that. Sometimes you just need to like get it out, and that helps you kind of work through your feelings and
Mhm.
everything as well. I love that. That is awesome. So hopefully moms and women that are listening can, take that advice and run with it and for sure use it. Cause like I said, that never hurts to have a reminder. Cause I think we always need those reminders because it's one of those things where we're automatically like fighting against it. And it's like, nope, just
Mhm.
you got to listen to it. Well, awesome.
Yep,
Well, thank you so
absolutely.
much for coming on. It was awesome hearing your story. And like I said, I've been a fan since I found your page a while ago. And I think your story is incredible. And all the things you're doing for women and everywhere with your program is so cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, it's time for this Mom Tales of the Week. And this is where we read off your responses to our different questions we put on social media. And this was a highly requested question because lots of moms had stories to share. This one is, tell us your best mom brain story. Okay, here we go. Number 1, Shaughnessy Winter. Pretty much every time I leave the house, I forget something. My husband thankfully is good with charades because half the time I'm using hand gestures because words don't come out. And I've walked into the shower with my glasses on multiple times and pretty much stand in rooms trying to remember why I'm there. It makes me laugh though because it's funny how it just hits you. I always thought maybe it was an excuse until it started happening to me. Oh, it's definitely real. That's hilarious. Walking into the shower with glasses on is hilarious. The walking into a room and forgetting what happens, I really feel like that comes with age. I've done that so many times. Usually if I leave the room and try to go back in, it sometimes will come back. Usually, sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes it'll come back, but not always. Number 2, Kayla M. I asked my husband to hand me my phone while I was scrolling through Facebook on my phone. I think we've all been there. Oh my gosh. But while scrolling on your phone, I've been like, I have had my phone in my hand with keys before. And I'm like, where is my phone? Or having my sunglasses on my head. Like, I can't find my sunglasses anywhere. Where is it? And it's literally on my head. Number 3, Race Peterson. One time I put the milk where the cereal went and I put the cereal in the fridge. Luckily, my boyfriend went into the kitchen just a couple minutes after I made my bowl of cereal and found it. Oh man, that's I've heard that a lot where you switch foods around. Yep, definitely been there. Okay, number 4, Aisling grills. I'm only 18 weeks and I went to make pizza rolls for me and my boyfriend and forgot to turn the oven on for an hour and wondered why the oven didn't preheat. Oh man, that's frustrating too when you really want pizza and you're just waiting and it's like, it seems like the oven already takes forever. So man, but you had a lot of patience waiting a whole hour for that and then realizing, oh my gosh. Number 5, Nicole B. I forgot that the hatch of the back of the car is called the trunk. I kept trying to explain it to my husband and then kept opening and closing my hands to look like an alligator's mouth. This went on for about 15 minutes, not my finest moment, LOL. Hey, I love the charades. It looks like a lot of people are using charades and that's where it comes in handy. I think we should all play charades so we get better at acting things out when we need to. I don't know if I would use this to represent a car trunk, but we all have our things. I think it works. Okay, number 6, Mariah Shake. Came back from the grocery store and threw the tomatoes in the trash and just kept the bag. Okay, that's hilarious. Well, I hope the bag was really cool and you got to use it for something great. Okay, number 7, at Wicked Stepmom. I was pumping for my 2-week-old and in 7 minutes I realized that I had not put bottles in the pump and just spent 7 minutes pumping my liquid gold all over my pants and couch. Oh no. Oh my gosh, you're probably like, yep, I'm getting it done and then nothing. Oh no. Hopefully it wasn't too long. Well, you said 7 minutes. That could be a lot. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please excuse my raspy voice, guys. Okay. Number 8, Callie. I put hand soap on my toothbrush and didn't realize until it was too late. My baby was 3 weeks old. Oh my gosh, you were probably so tired too. So that just added to the mom brain. Tired, mom brain, a lot going on, 3-week-old. Oh my gosh. Hand soap on your toothbrush. Your mouth might be really clean. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. You probably still taste soap, don't you? Number 9, Alexandra R. Telling my boyfriend something he told me 5 minutes ago as if I was the one that came up with it. Really thought I did. I love that because, you know, you could do it with like another group of friends and they would have no clue. But I love that you were just so confident that, you know what, I came up with this. Hopefully he just gave you some credit. Okay, number 10, Dominique H. I literally couldn't remember the word for carpet while we're trying to potty train my toddler. She was running around saying potty, potty before squatting and peeing. So I yelled at her saying, don't you pee on that soft, fuzzy flooring? To which my husband looked at me so confused. I love that you so quickly described it though. So she knew what you meant, but man, that's hilarious. I mean, if anything, I think you kind of stepped it up. You didn't just say one word. You gave her many words to describe what she was about to pee on. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, I have one more that came in from Instagram, and I hope this is the full story. She was so excited to tell us a mom brain story, so I'm just going to read it here. This is from our friend Megan Meissner. Here we go. It's a story about tiny black pellets that I found in Clancy's crib. He was weeks old. I found them in the kitchen cabinets, on his bottle drying rack, and I first thought bed bugs. Then I was thinking it was rat poop. Only to have my husband point out after days and even pics that I shared to the Facebook group, they were coffee grounds. Okay, that's hilarious. But I mean, in all honesty, coffee grounds would look like bugs, and very quickly you're not gonna think coffee grounds are gonna be in your son's room. So I don't blame you for that one. That's pretty funny though. All right, guys. These were hilarious to read. I'm sure there's plenty more mom brain stories. We got a ton in our Facebook group and on Instagram. So if you want to have a little laugh, read through some of those, leave your own comments and just enjoy. That's all I got for this week, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week for an all-new interview. Hey guys, if you found this or any episode of Mom Talks with Christa helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends. We release new videos every single Wednesday, and our new podcast is out every single Thursday. So lots of different ways you can catch us. And of course, if you're not following us on our socials, go ahead and follow us there. We've got tons of new content for you every single day. And finally, if you're watching this and doubting yourself, You're doing a great job. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.